Krishna 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 Raksha Mam. Krishna 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 Hari Mam. Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Raksha Mam. Krishna Kesava Krishna Kesava Krishna Kesava Hari Mam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Krishna Book ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the summary study of Srila Vyasadev's Srimad Bhagavatam on the 10th canto. Krishna and the milk. If you take milk at night. So we are reading from chapter 35, the gopis' feelings of separation. The gopis of Vrindavan were so attached to Krishna that they were not satisfied simply with the rasa dance at night. They wanted to associate with him and enjoy with his company during the daytime also. When Krishna went to the forest with his cowherd boyfriends and cows, the gopis did not physically take part, but their hearts went with him. And because their heart also went, they were able to enjoy his company through strong feelings of separation. To acquire this strong feeling of separation is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya and his direct disciples, the direct succession of the Goswamis. When we are not in physical contact with Krishna, we can associate with him through the gopis, or like the gopis, though through the feelings of separation. Krishna's transcendental form, qualities, pastimes and entourage are all identical with him. There are 9 different kinds of devotional services. Devotional service in feelings of separation elevates the devotee to the highest perfectional level, to the level of the gopis. It is stated in Srinivasacharya's prayers to the 6 Goswamis that they left material opulence of government service and the princely status of life and went to Vrindavan, where they lived just like ordinary mendicants, begging from door to door. But they were so much enriched with the gopis' feeling of separation that they enjoyed transcendental pleasure at every moment. Similarly, when Lord Chaitanya was at Jagannath Puri, he was in the role of Radharani, feeling separation from Krishna. Those who were on the disciplic succession of the Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya should always feel separation from Krishna. Worship of his transcendental form and discuss his transcendental teachings, his pastimes, his qualities and his entourage. That will enrich the devotees to the highest devotional perfection. Feeling constant separation while engaged in the service of the Lord is the perfection of Krishna consciousness. The gopis used to discuss Krishna among themselves, and their talks were as follows. "My dear friends," one gopi said, "do you know that when Krishna lies on the ground, he rests on his left elbow and his head rests on his left hand. He moves his attractive eyebrows while playing the flute with his delicate fingers, and the sounds he produces create such a nice atmosphere, like the denizens of the heavenly planets who travel in space with their wives and beloveds. They stop their aeroplane, for they are stunned by the vibration of the flute. The wives of the demigods who are seated on the plains then become very much ashamed of their singing and musical qualification. Not only that, but they become afflicted with conjugal love, and their hair and tight clothes became immediately loosened." Another gopi said, "My dear friends, Krishna is so beautiful that the goddess of fortune always remains on his chest, and he is always adorned with a golden necklace. Beautiful Krishna plays his flute in order to enliven the hearts of many devotees. He is the only friend of the suffering living entities. When he plays his flute, all the cows and other animals of Vrindavan, although engaged in eating, simply take a morsel of food in their mouths and stop chewing. Their ears raise up and they become stunned. They do not appear alive, but like painted animals. Krishna's flute playing is so attractive that even the animals became enchanted. So what to speak of ourselves?" Another gopi said, "My dear friends, not only the living animals, but even the inanimate objects, like the rivers and the lakes of Vrindavan, also become stunned when Krishna passes with a peacock feather on his head, and his body is smeared with minerals of Vrindavan. With leaves and flowers decorating his body, he looks like some hero. And when he plays on his flute and calls his calves with Balaram, the river Jamuna stops flowing and waits for the air to carry the dust of his lotus feet. The river Jamuna is unfortunate like us. It does not get Krishna's mercy. The rivers remain simply stunned, stopping its waves, just as we stop crying for Krishna in expectation." In the absence of Krishna, the gopis were constantly shedding tears, but sometimes when they expected that Krishna was coming, they would stop crying. But when they saw that Krishna was not coming, they would become frustrated and begin to cry. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the origin of all the Vishnu forms, and all the cowherd boys are all demigods. Lord Vishnu is always surrounded and worshipped by different demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, Indra, Chandra and others. When Krishna travelled through Vrindavan, he walked or forest or walked on Govardhana hill, he was accompanied by the cowherd boys. While walking, he played his flute just to call the cows. Just by his association, the trees, plants, and other vegetation in the forest immediately became Krishna conscious. A Krishna conscious person sacrifices everything for Krishna. Although the trees and plants were not very advanced in consciousness, by the association of Krishna and his friends, they also became Krishna conscious. They then wanted to deliver something, whatever they had, namely their fruits, flowers, and honey, incessantly falling from the branches. When Krishna walked on the bank of the Jamuna, he was seen nicely decorated with tilak on his face. He was garlanded with different kinds of forest flowers, and his body was smeared with the pulp of sandalwood and tulasi leaves. The bumblebees became mad after the fragrance of the sweetness of the atmosphere. Being pleased by the humming sound of the bees, Krishna would play his flute, and together the sound became so sweet to hear that aquatic birds like the cranes and swans and ducks were charmed. Instead of swimming or flying, they became stunned. They closed their eyes and entered in a trance of meditation in worship of Krishna. One gopi said, "My dear friends, Krishna and Balaram are most nicely dressed with earrings and pearl necklaces. They enjoy themselves on top of Govardhan Hill, and everything becomes absorbed in his transcendental pleasure when Krishna plays on his flute, charming the whole creation, the whole created manifestation. When he plays, the clouds stop their loud thundering out of fear of him. Rather than disturb the vibration of his flute, they respond with mild thunder and so congratulate their friend Krishna." Krishna is accepted as the friends of the cloud because both the cloud and Krishna satisfy the people when they are disturbed. When the people are burning due to excessive heat, the cloud satisfies them with its rain. Similarly, when people in materialistic life become disturbed by the blazing fire of material pangs, Krishna consciousness gives them relief like a cloud. The cloud and Krishna, having the same bodily color, are also considered to be friends. Desiring to congratulate its superior friends, the cloud poured not water but small flowers and covered the head of Krishna, just like an umbrella to protect him from the scorching sunshine. One of the gopis told Mother Jasoda, "My dear mother, your son is very expert among the cowherd boys. He knows all the different arts of how to tend the cows and how to play the flute. He composes his own songs and he puts the flute to his mouth, and when he plays, either in the morning or in the evening, all the demigods, including Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, Chandra, bow their heads and listen with great attention. Although they are very learned and expert, they cannot understand the musical arrangement of Krishna's flute. They simply listen attentively and try to understand, but they become bewildered and nothing more." Another gopi said, "My dear friends, when Krishna returns home with his cows, the footprints of his soles of his feet, with the flag, thunderbolt, trident, and lotus flower, relieve the pain the earth feels when the cows traverse it. He walks in a stride which is so attractive, and he carries his flute. Just by looking at him, we have become lusty to enjoy his company. At that time, our movements cease, and we become just like trees and stand perfectly still, unaware that our hair and clothes are loosening." Krishna has many thousands of cows, and they were divided into groups according to their colors. They are also differently named according to color. When he would prepare to return to the pasturing grounds, he would gather all the cows. As the Vaishnavas count 108 beads, which represent the 108 individual gopis, so Krishna will count on 108 beads to count the different groups of gopis, the different groups of cows. When Krishna returned, he is garlanded with tulasi leaves. The gopis describe him. A gopi describes him to a friend. He puts his hand on the shoulder of a boyfriend, a cowherd boyfriend, and begins to blow his transcendental flute. The wives of the black deer became enchanted upon hearing the vibration of his flute, which resembles the vibration of the veena. The deer come to Krishna and become so charmed that they stand still, forgetting their homes and husbands. Like us, who are enchanted by the ocean of transcendental qualities of Krishna, the she-deer become enchanted by the vibration of his flute. Another gopi said, Mother Jasoda, my dear mother, when your son returns home, he decorates himself with the buds of the kunda flower, and just to enlighten and gladden his friends, he blows his flute. The breeze blowing from the south creates a pleasing atmosphere because it is fragrant and very cool. Minor demigods like Gandharvalokas and Siddhas, the Gandharvas and the Siddhas, take advantage of this atmosphere and offer prayers to your son by sounding their bugles and drums. Krishna is very kind to the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Vrindavan he's very kind to the inhabitants of Brajabhumi, Vrindavan. And when he returns with his cows and friends, he is remembered as the lifter of Govardhan Hill. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the most exalted demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva come down to offer them their evening prayers, and they accompany the cowherd boys in glorifying the qualities of Krishna. Krishna is accompanied, or is compared Krishna is compared to the moon, born in the ocean of the womb of Devaki. When he returns in the evening, it appears that he is fatigued, but still he tries to gladden the inhabitants of Vrindavan by his auspicious presence. When Krishna returns, garlanded with flowers, his face looks beautiful, adorned with golden earrings. He walks into Vrindavan with a stride just like an elephant and slowly enters his home. Upon his return, the men, women and cows of Vrindavan immediately forget the scorching heat of the day. Such pastimes of such descriptions of Krishna's transcendental pastimes and activities were remembered by the gopis during his absence from Vrindavan. They give us some idea of how attractive Krishna is, not only to human beings, but all the animate and inanimate objects in Vrindavan. The trees and the plants and the water animals. In Vrindavan, the trees and the plants, the water, animals, like in Vrindavan, the trees and plants, the water, animals like deer and cows, everybody and everything is attracted to Krishna. That is a perfect description of Krishna's attraction. The example of the gopis is very instructive to persons who trying to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. One can easily associate with Krishna simply by remembering his transcendental pastimes. Everyone has a tendency to love someone. That Krishna should be the object of love is the central point of Krishna consciousness. By constantly chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and remembering the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, one can be fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness and thus make his life sublime and fruitful. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 35th chapter of Krishna, the gopis' feeling of separation. So here at the last paragraph Prabhupada mentioned that everybody is one can very easily associate with Krishna simply by remembering him and his transcendental pastimes. Everyone has a tendency to love someone, and that Krishna should be the object of that love is the central point of Krishna consciousness. The Prabhupada said everybody wants to love and be loved. But the ultimate loving exchange finds its place in the lotus feet of Krishna, when we awaken our loving relationship with Krishna. By constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and remembering the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, one can be fully in Krishna conscious and make his life sublime and fruitful. Hare Krishna. This is chapter 36. Kamsa sends Akrura for Krishna. Vrindavan is always absorbed in the thought of Krishna. Everyone remembered his pastimes and was constantly immersed in the ocean of transcendental bliss. But the material world is so contaminated that even in Vrindavan, the asuras or demons try to disturb the peaceful situation. Once, a demon named Arastasura entered the village in the form of a great bull with its gigantic body and huge horns, digging up the earth with its hooves. When the demon entered Vrindavan, the whole land appeared to tremble as if there were an earthquake. He roared fiercely, and after digging up the earth on the riverside, he entered the village proper. The fearful roaring of the bull was so piercing that some of the pregnant cows and women had miscarriages. His body was so big and stout and strong that a cloud hovered above its body, just as clouds hover above mountains. Arastasura entered Vrindavan with such a fearful appearance that just on seeing this great demon, all the men and women were afflicted with great fear, and the cows and other animals fled to the village. The situation was very terrible, and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan began to cry, "Krishna, Krishna, please save us." Krishna also saw the cows were running away, and he immediately replied, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid." He then appeared before Arastasura and said, "You lowest of living entities, Why are you frightening the inhabitants of Gokul? What will you gain by this action? If you have come here to challenge my authority, then I am prepared to fight with you. In this way, Krishna challenged the demon, and the demon became very angry by the words of Krishna. Krishna stood before the bull, resting his hand on the shoulder of a friend. The bull proceeded toward Krishna in anger, digging the earth with its hoofs. Arishtashvara lifted his tail, and it appears that the clouds were hovering above his tail. His eyes were reddish and moving in anger. Pointing his horns at Krishna, he charged him, just like the thunderbolt of Indra. But Krishna immediately caught his horns and tossed him away, just as a giant elephant repels a small immature elephant. Although the demon was perspiring and appeared very tired, he took courage and again got up. Again he charged Krishna with great force and anger. While rushing towards Krishna, he breathed very heavily. Krishna again caught his horns and immediately threw him to the ground, breaking his horns. Krishna then began to kick his body, just as one squeezes a wet cloth on the ground. Being thus kicked by Krishna, Aristasura rolled over and began to move his legs violently, bleeding from the mouth and passing stool and urine. His eyes starting from their sockets, he passed to the kingdom of death. The demigods in the celestial planets showered flowers of Krishna for his wonderful achievement. Krishna was already the life and soul of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and after killing this demon in the shape of a bull, he became the signature of all eyes. With Balaram he triumphantly entered Vrindavan village, and all the inhabitants glorified him and Balaram with great jubilation. When a person performs some wonderful feat, his kinsmen and relatives and friends naturally become jubilant. It was after this incident that the great sage Narad disclosed to Kamsa the secret of Krishna. Narad Muni is generally known as Devadarshan, which means he can be seen only by the demigods or persons on the same level as the demigods. But Narad visited Kamsa, who was not at all on the level of the demigods, and he allowed Kamsa to see him. Of course, Kamsa also saw Krishna, so what to speak of Narad Muni? But unless one sees the Lord or his devotees with purified eyes, one cannot actually derive actual benefit. Of course, anyone who associates with a pure devotee derives imperceptible benefit, which is called agyashokriti. One cannot understand how he is making progress, yet he makes progress by seeing the devotees of the Lord. Narada's mission was to finish things quickly. Krishna appeared in order to kill the demons, and Kamsa was the chief among them. Narada wanted to expedite things, therefore he immediately approached Kamsa with the real information. You are to be killed by the eighth son of Vasudeva, Narada told Kamsa. That eighth son of Vasudeva is Krishna. You are misled by Vasudeva into believing that the eighth issue of Vasudeva was a daughter, but actually the daughter was born into Jasoda, the wife of Nanda Maharaj, and Vasudeva exchanged the son for the daughter, so you are misled. Krishna is the son of Vasudeva, as is Balaram. Being afraid of your atrocious nature, Vasudeva has tactfully hidden himself in Vrindavan out of sight. Narad further informed Kamsa, Krishna and Balaram have been living incognito in the care of Nanda Maharaj. All the Asuras, your companions who were sent to Vrindavan to kill different children, were killed by Krishna and Balaram. As soon as Kamsa got this information from Narad Muni, he took out his sharp sword and prepared to kill Vasudeva for his duplicity. But Narad pacified him. You are not to be killed by Vasudeva, he said. Why you are so anxious to kill him? Better try to kill Krishna and Balaram. But in order to satisfy his wrath, Kamsa arrested Vasudeva and his wife and shackled them in chains. Acting on this new information, Kamsa immediately called for the Keshi demon and asked him to go to Vrindavan and immediately kill Balaram and Krishna. In actuality, Kamsa asked Keshi to go to Vrindavan to be killed by Krishna and Balaram, and thus get their salvation. Then Kamsa called for his expert elephant trainer, as well as for the wrestlers, Chanora, Mushtika, Shala, Toshala, etc. And he told them, my dear friends, try to hear me attentively. At Nanda Maharaj's place in Vrindavan, there are two brothers, Krishna and Balaram. They were actually the sons of Vasudeva, as you know. As you know, I have been destined to be killed by Krishna. There is a prophecy to that effect. Now I am requesting you to arrange for a wrestling match. People from different parts of the country will come to see the festival. I will arrange to get those two boys here, and you will try to kill them in the wrestling arena. Wrestling matches are still enjoyed by people in the northern India. And it appears from the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam that 5,000 years ago, wrestling was also popular. Kamsa planned to arrange for a wrestling competition and to invite all the people to visit. He also told the trainers of the elephants, be sure to bring that elephant named Kuvalapidya and keep him at the gate of the wrestling arena. Try to capture Krishna and Balaram on their arrival and have the elephants kill them. Kamsa also advised his friends to arrange worship of Lord Shiva by offering animal sacrifices and performing the sacrifice known as the Dhanodhyagna. And the sacrifice performed on the 14th day known as Chaturdasi. This date falls 3 days after the Ekadasi, and it's left aside for the worship of Lord Shiva. One of the plenary portions of Lord Shiva is called Kala Bhairava. This form of Lord Shiva is worshipped by the demons who offer animals killed before him. The process is still current in India in a place called Vaidyanath Dham, where demons offer animal sacrifices to the deity of Kali Bhairava. Kamsa belonged to the demoniac group. He was also an expert diplomat, so he quickly arranged for his demon friends to kill Krishna and Balaram. He then called for Akrura, one of the descendants of the family of the Jadus, in which Kamsa was born as a son of Vasudeva. He then called for Akrura, one of the descendants of the family of Jadu, in which Krishna was born as the son of Vasudeva. When Akrura came to see Krishna, Kamsa very politely shook hands with him. My dear Akrura, actually I have no better friend than you in the Bhoja and Jadu dynasties. You are the most munificent person. So as a friend I am begging charity from you. Actually I have taken shelter of you exactly as King Indra takes shelter of Lord Vishnu. I request you to immediately go to Vrindavan and find the two boys named Krishna and Balaram. They are the sons of Nanda Maharaj. Take this nice chariot, especially prepared for the boys, and bring them here immediately. That is my request to you. Now my plan is to kill these two boys. As soon as they come in the gate, there will be a giant elephant named Kuvalyapitya waiting, and possibly he will be able to kill them. But if somehow or another they should escape, then we will next meet the wrestlers, and they will be killed by them. This is my plan. After killing those two boys, I shall kill Vasudev and Nanda, who are supporters of the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties. I shall kill my father Ugrasena and his brother Devaka because they were actually my enemies, and they're a hindrance to my diplomacy and my politics. I shall get rid of all of my enemies. Jarasandha is my father-in-law, and I have a great monkey friend named Divida. With their help it will be easy to kill these kings on the surface of the earth who support the demigods. This is my plan. In this way I shall be free from all opposition, and it will be very pleasant to rule the world without obstruction. You may know also that Shambhara, Narakasura, Panasura are my intimate friends, and when I begin war against the kings who support the demigods, they will help me considerably. I shall be rid of all my enemies. Please go immediately to Vrindavan and encourage the boys to come here and see the beauty of Mathura and take pleasure in a wrestling competition. After hearing the plan of Kamsa, Akrura replied, "My dear king, your plan is very excellently made to counteract the hindrances in your diplomatic activities, but you should maintain equilibrium, for the result of your activities may be fruitful or may not be fruitful. After all, man proposes, God disposes. If we make great plans, we may make great plans, but unless they are sanctioned by the Supreme Authority, then they will fail. Everyone in this material world has supernatural power. Everyone in this material world knows that the supernatural power is the ultimate disposer of everything. One may make a very great plan with his fertile brain, but he must know that he will become subject to the fruits, misery and happiness. But I have nothing to say against your proposal. As a friend, I shall carry out your order and bring Krishna and Balaram here as you desire." After instructing his friends in various ways, Kamsa retired and Akrura went back to his home. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta Purport, the 26th chapter of Krishna. Kamsa sends Akrura for Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Okay, we'll go on to chapter 37. There was a question here. Question from Mohan Anandadalindasi. Krishna loves everyone, so how we can love Krishna if we don't have love in this material world from people whom we love? Krishna loves everyone, so how can we love Krishna if we don't have love in this material world from people who we love? Yes, love means, according to Bhishma Dev, the authority, he gives his definition of love as that when one places all of his senses in the sense, all of his senses in the sense object and nowhere else, that is called love. So when all of your senses are absorbed in one object, namely Krishna, and nothing else, and that activity is called love. So you're asking how we can love Krishna if we don't have love in this material world from people whom we love. Yeah, so it's like this. We see in this material world, we're always being frustrated in our plans for making happiness, loving relationships. It's just a matter of time before one leaves. One goes first, one dies first, and the other one dies after. It's a question of time, a question of who goes first, who goes next. But we must die despite all the love that we have for everyone in this material world. I'm going to die or you're going to die, so that our love will be finished. And we have so many examples, even in this lifetime we get hurt by so many people we thought we loved. We have so many examples, so practically we see that I try to love people, but it doesn't work out how I actually want it to. Something has happened and the relationship is finished and splits up, gets destroyed. And this has been going on for not only in this lifetime, but lifetime after lifetime, after birth after birth after birth. It's always ended up in the same way. We had to be forcibly separated if there was any love. At death we were have to be forcibly separated. Not to speak of all the smaller separations in between. So it's to bring us to our senses and come to the conclusion that actually there is no real happiness in this material. There is no love in this material world. More or less it's all lust. That was described in the Rasa Leela chapter. We're calling it love in this material, but actually it's lust. As long as you can satisfy my senses, I will love you. The moment if you don't satisfy my senses, then there will be a divorce, there will be a separation. So it's not actually pure love from one object alone. It is love we are just, one is thinking of his own sense gratification. So practically we have this experience of being burned again and again in this fire of attraction and repulsion. Rajadvesha. This is Rajadvesha. This is all that goes on in this material world. The sense objects are meeting. The senses are meeting a sense object. Maya is presenting so many sense objects before us at every moment. And the mind says, do I like it or do I not like it? The sense object appears, and under Krishna's dictation, this Maya Devi is moving her energy. She presents herself before the living entity, an object, and the living entity says, do I like it or do I not like it? And taking help from the intelligence, the mind says, and to the intelligence, what was the experience last time we engaged in our senses in this sense object? Was it a favorable, was it a good experience? Did we get happiness? If we did, we think, okay, I'll accept this object and I'll begin to meditate on it and how to expand that activity for pleasure. If I don't like, my experience was we didn't like it so much. It wasn't so fruitful. So then I'll reject it. So accepting and rejecting one thing after another, that's all that's going on in this material world. So we have to ask ourselves, this is what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Simply go through life accepting and rejecting one. I like this, I don't like it. Like and dislike. Am I going to go and spend the rest of my life like this, accepting and rejecting these objects of the senses? Or am I going to do something about it? So then Krishna consciousness is there, it's coming from, yes, we should make some solution to the problem. And so Krishna consciousness is making a permanent solution to the problem. Because we have a relationship with Krishna through service, different types of service. We have a relationship as servant and master in the beginning, but this master never finishes. This lover never finishes. This friendship never finishes. This parental relationship never finishes. It's going on eternally there in the spiritual world. So Krishna consciousness means it's an awakening to our eternal loving relationship with Krishna, because that will never finish. That will never let us down. We will never be disappointed. But you have to wait a little bit. We may not have immediate results. The example given in the Nectar of Devotion is that when the young girl gets married, she's a young housewife. Now she has a different circle of friends, because before she was unmarried, she was single, she would have different friends. When she gets married, then she makes friends with other married couples, and they're like that. So then she has friendship with all these according to the according to their relationship. Yeah, but when this loving propensity is reposed in Krishna, then this loving tendency will never finish. Prabhupada said, what you're doing now in the material world, you can do in the spiritual world. So when we're learning to love Krishna, we can get the same types of activity in the spiritual world. To make garlands for Krishna, you can do that also in the spiritual world. Anyway, that's the nature of this so-called love of this material world. We'll accept it, but then we'll get frustrated, and then we'll try to reject it, and again we'll find another object, and then again we'll. So take to Krishna consciousness. It's a positive alternative. We choose to come and become Krishna's servant in various ways, and that is our perfection. Then that is the full satisfaction of the living entity, the constitutional nature to be situated in one's eternal relationship with Krishna through some kind of service. Hare Krishna. Question from Chetan Maheshwari. How are we preaching more? How are we preaching more? I think this is how we can expand the preaching. Is it? Can do more. So wherever you are in your society of devotees, you're meeting devotees and associating with devotees, and you find out something that you're attracted to do, you like to do some service, then you can ask the authorities wherever you are living, and ask them to engage you in service of whatever you like, whether it's book distribution or sitting down chanting Hare Krishna, or so many types of service that's somehow or another expanding the preaching program of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have Namha programs, Bhakti Briksha programs. They're giving us an opportunity to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission more. So we should think that it's actually a missionary spirit. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was pleased when we give this message, Krishna consciousness, to everyone else. So whatever you like doing in Krishna consciousness, whatever you're attracted to, then you ask your authorities you'd like to do this service. Or if you don't have any idea, you can ask them, please give me some service and assist me. Give me some, allow me to serve somewhere or another. This is how we can preach more and more, by finding something we like to do and try to do it on a regular basis. Practically apply the service. So that's all preaching. If it's expanding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, then we can understand it's a bona fide activity, so we can fully engage ourselves in this activity of spreading Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. So that then, like that, we can preach more and more. Question from Dhanya Nambiar. My question is, why did Akrura agree to pick up Krishna and Balaram? Why did Akrura agree to pick up Krishna and Balaram, as Akrura was Krishna's uncle? Yeah, well, most of them were related. Krishna was, Vasudeva and Devaki were related to Kamsa. She was said to be his sister. Devaki is the sister of Kamsa. So most of the Jadu dynasty, Vishnu dynasty, they're all intimately connected through in the different dynasties. So most of them had relationships with others. Akrura was Krishna's uncle. So Kamsa, he asked Akrura, do you please go and pick up? He gave the chariot. They were trustworthy people and relatives. And also another reason was that it's like Narad Muni, he came and explained how Krishna was now living in Vrindavan with Nanda Maharaj. Vasudeva changed the boy for the girl at the time of birth. And what was I saying? Why did it occur? Oh, that's right. Akrura, although he was a relative, most of the other relatives, they left Mathura because of the atrocities of King Kamsa. They were living in different places, even living in caves of mountains, some of them, because they didn't like to be in Kamsa's kingdom. He was so cruel. And so, but some people stayed there, like Akrura. A few people stayed there because they understood that the prediction is that Krishna is going to take birth here. And so that they thought that's great. Then we'll wait here, despite Kamsa is such a wicked person. Despite that, we're going to wait here because Krishna is going to take his birth here. We're going to see Krishna. So they knew that opportune time was going to come when the whole story will be revealed. And they would get association of Krishna. They would be able to. And plus, Kamsa has been predestined that he's going to be killed by Krishna, so that's another good thing. Although they didn't like Kamsa, but they were relatives, so they put on a show. But they were going to see Krishna when Krishna was, and they're going to see Kamsa being killed by Krishna. This is all great. Then, at the end of that, when Kamsa was killed by Krishna, you see all the different relatives. They all came back again to Mathura and other districts. So that was this is why some of the elderly persons and relatives, they didn't leave Mathura. They stayed, even though they were living in Kamsa's jurisdiction, but still they tolerated that Kamsa, so they could witness the birth of Krishna and the killing of Kamsa and things like that. So Akrura was asked by Kamsa. He was a trusted person, family member, and plus also Krishna was going to send Akrura. Kamsa was going to send Akrura to Vrindavan. Means he's going to come and I'm going to go and pick him up. I'm going to actually see Krishna. I'll see his footprints on the floor of the dust of Vrindavan. I'll see how Krishna is playing his pastimes in Vrindavan. I'll be fortunate enough, although Akrura only stayed a little while, to pick up Krishna and take him back to Kamsa, but at least he could see Krishna. He could talk with Krishna. And he said, when I get there, Akrura will, and I'll pay my obeisances because Akrura is elderly person. So Krishna will pay his obeisances to me. And then he said he will lift me up, and he said he will call me Uncle Akrura. At that time my life will be perfect. Krishna is revealing his eternal relationship to Akrura when he said Uncle Akrura. When he calls me uncle, means he's accepting me as one of the family members. So that is my perfection. That is, he gets his Swarup Siddhi, his eternal service, playing as the uncle of Krishna. Yeah, so Akrura agreed to pick up that Krishna and Balaram. That was a great service. Kamsa is my enemy, but he's given me the greatest favor. He's sending me to Vrindavan where I'll see Krishna and Balaram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Okay. Krishna and milk. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna Book ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Go Premanandi.